So do you remember Neverwinter Nights, Neverwinter Nights 2, Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale? Did you play them? Good, okay. So that's the answer I want to hear, because then I can tell you that Neverwinter is now the MMO set in the city of Neverwinter, of course. So 100 years has passed since the end of Neverwinter Nights 2, and as you can see, a lot has happened in the meantime. In this 100 years, two very important things have happened. The first thing is that there was the volcano that's close to Neverwinter erupted and destroyed the city. And the second thing is that the spell plague has happened. And that's, for example, why that building there is floating in the air. Because the magic around Neverwinter is completely confused, and it erupted, and it's fighting. So the city is still being rebuilt, and if you look here, for example, you can see that they're still rebuilding the city. There's still construction going on, etc. So it's now up to the player to help the city of Neverwinter to rebuild and to come back to its glory. But people who've played Neverwinter Nights 1 and 2, they will recognize a lot in this city and in the story. The tavern, the Moonstone Tavern there, was very important in the books and things like that. And there's a couple of other very Dungeons and Dragons and Neverwinter things that will come back in the game. Another thing that was very important about Neverwinter Nights, of course, was the user-generated content. People could have their own server, they could create their own dungeons, run their own campaigns, and really share with their friends and with a huge audience their story. And in Neverwinter we realized if we're going to make an MMO, we also need to offer that, we also need to do that. So we added to the game a tool called the Foundry. And with the Foundry, everybody, everybody here can make their own quests and make their own content. You can make a dungeon, add monsters to it, add a boss fight to it, add traps to it, to really tell your own story. And then what's really cool, when you share it with everybody in the game. So everybody else who's playing Neverwinter, it's an MMO, right? There's tens of thousands of people online. They can find your quest and they can play your quest. So far I've really spoken about the things that are the same, that come from Dungeons and Dragons, that come from Neverwinter Nights, and that come from user-generated content. The thing that's really different in this game is the way combat works. It's action-based combat. So first of all, you can see that I'm looking around with my mouse. When I look around with my mouse, I aim at different things. And my abilities, they will happen where I aim. So it's almost like an FPS in that sense, where you have to aim where you do your actions. And then through my abilities that I have here on my mouse buttons and here on my keyboard buttons, I choose what my character does. But what that means is that if I get attacked, for example, there's not a skill or a stat that makes me dodge. I do this, and I dodge out of the way. So that really lets me be the player, be the one who makes it so that I survive or I die. It's my fault, or it's my good job if I survive. So it's easier to show you. Let me find some enemies that we can beat up, and then you can see action combat in action.
It's more an action game.
It's very much an action game, yeah. We call it
old school gamers.
Well, for old school gamers, it's if you're used to tab targeting and you're used to kind of the older ways of doing combat, give it a try, right? It's free to play. You can download it for free. Try it, and I'm sure that if you're done with the tutorial, you will understand, you will feel how it works, and you will feel how awesome it is. So I was talking before about the Foundry and user-generated content. So here's a good example. This is an NPC and she has a quest for me. We all know what it means, an exclamation mark, that means a quest. And it's a part of the main storyline, so it continues the story of the game. And right next to her is what we call a job board. And on that job board, you can find quests the player have made. So they're not hidden, they're not put away in a different server or a different menu. They're part of the same game, of the same world, of the same experience. So here we come to some enemies. And you can see that there's 3 of them and there's 1 of me. So one of the things maybe you've noticed already, there's this guy that follows me around. Neverwinter has what is called a companion system. So if in this case I'm a rogue, I'm a DPS character. So I can choose to have a tank with me, and he will take aggro and take damage of me. And what's really cool about these companions, I can have different ones. So this is a tank, and then for example this is an animal who can do damage. This is a dragon, very cool. And what is also cool about them is that they level up with me. You can see that they have experience bars. So in the beginning, my tank will look like that. You know, his armor won't be very cool, and he'll still be quite young. And then a bit later, his armor will be a bit cooler, and even cooler. And at the end, he will look just like a player, very cool armor. And the same, of course, he will unlock more slots to put items in. He will get more abilities and stronger abilities to do his job better. So it's really almost like a player, where he grows with you and he works with you.
It can be a real player or two real players and NPC.
Every real player can have one NPC with them. So what that means is if you and a friend are playing, then you can both have a companion with you. And you can get really nice combinations that way. So if you play a tank and your friend plays a healer, then you can have your two companions can be damage dealers. Or if you are a damage dealer and your friend is a healer, then your companion could be a tank. So you can really use it to complement your group, complement your play, and we kind of see the player character and the companion as one. So they can choose to be to run with a damage or a tank or a healer to really complement their class.
We're glad to see more about co-op gameplay, PvE.
Yeah. PvE, what we're showing here is just me playing on my own. And the show floor here as well, we have a single player demo. As soon as we go into closed beta, of course, you'll be able to play. You can play dungeons, you can play events, you can play PvP, all together with groups. The game is set up so that you can play the main storyline from level 1 to 60 and all the side quests, solo with your companion or with a friend or with 5 people. It all scales in difficulty, so it's always exciting. And then every zone has at least one dungeon, some of them have more, and events, skirmishes, etc. That are all balanced for 5 people.
5 players and 5 NPCs.
Absolutely, yeah.
So many.
You have sometimes on boss fights, I found that sometimes we die on the boss on like 15%. And then we found, if we had a bit more damage, I think we could have done it. Because we were good for healing, we were good for tanking, but the damage wasn't enough. So then maybe 1 or 2 of the people who had a healing companion swap it for a damage companion, and then we do the boss again, and then we can kill the boss. So it really allows a group to be flexible, to allow a group to try a fight in a different way.
Bosses are really hard. They attack in different ways or static.
No. As you will see in this combat, every fight with boss or with NPCs is always different, because after a while, of course, you will know what they do as normal, but they will put different areas of damage on the floor, or the room will change, or things like that. There's really different phases. It's very dynamic and because of the action-based combat. For example, healing. If you are a healer, you need to be able to target your friend in the group to be able to heal them. So if there's a monster between you and your target, you cannot heal them. You need to position yourself, and the tank as well, to be sure that you can heal them. So there's a lot of mobility, a lot of moving during fights to make sure that everything works out well. So let's just show you combat here. So here we see that I have 3 enemies, and I am a rogue, so I will stealth in, and I will pick the first enemy and give him a good hit. And then you see already that there's red rings on the floor, so I can run away. He's going to hit me, so again I roll away, but I was a bit too slow. Again, I see, nice, my tank has aggro, so I attack from behind, and we can finish the fight. So there you see that I only took, 10% of my damage. Because in the beginning I could roll away, avoid the red rings on the floor, and then later I saw that the big guy with the snub, he did this, and then I moved away and he missed me. So in previous games, when you do that, he wouldn't miss you, he would always hit you. Because he's already done, he's starting his animation, it's already done. Here it is, if my fingers are fast enough, if my brain is fast enough, I can still avoid it, or I can still make it.
It's action.
It's really, when we say action, we really mean action.
What about classes? How many classes?
So for the Russian launch of the game, currently there are 5 classes in the game. The Trickster Rogue that you see here, stealth or damage. Then you have the Guardian Fighter, a tank, big shield, sword, heavy armor. Looks a little bit like my companion. Then you have the large weapon fighter, also armored with a big 2-handed weapon, sword or an axe. Then you have the devoted cleric, the healer, damage dealer, and the control wizard, that is damage dealer controller. And for the Russian launch, we're going to have a 6th class. It's a bit too early for us to tell what it is, but maybe you can take a guess.
And what about races?
There are 10 races in the game right now, and this is also something like classes. We're going to continue to add more races. If you open a Dungeons and Dragons book, there are so many races. There's maybe like over 100 races. And we took some of the most iconic ones and some of the most important ones also for the area. So half-orcs, drow, all very important for the area that Neverwinter is in. Humans, of course, because they live in Neverwinter. But there are 10 races right now, and there will be many more.
And what about system of 2 classes, multi-system?
So what classes have is within their specialization, they have paths they can choose. So there's very much a system where if you're a healer, you can focus more on damage dealing and life leeching, or more on healing your group and things like that. So it's not quite multi-classing, but it is a way for you to pick your direction and really specialize your character.
And what about the day-night system?
Some zones have day-night systems. Some zones, when you're underground, it's always dark. But the sky right now in Neverwinter, when you saw in the beginning in the city, it was really red, and that has a certain reason. I won't spoil it yet, but you will understand when you play the game why that is. And sometimes it will be night, and it depends on the cycle, it depends on the quest you're doing.
What about localization for Russia?
Yeah, it's a very important question. So you see the game right now, that there are some Russian words and some English words still, and that's because we're playing on a developer server here. So what I also want to be very clear about is that it might be that the Russian that you see is not good yet. There might be mistakes and everything. That's because so far our localization is about 80% done. So what we still need to do is the last 20%, and the quality assurance, the proofreading. We really aim for a very high level of localization. What we also want to mention is that the game will be fully voice-overed, also in Russian. So the entire main storyline, all of the side quests, they have good Russian actors that we're looking for really good voices that go along with the story to support that. I also want to mention, also important for localization, the Russian server. It will be located very close to the majority of Russian players. So your connection and your ping will be very good to it. Which is sometimes a problem, right, in Russia when the server's too far away. It's a big country, so we want to make sure we found a really good location that has good connection. And also, if you want to play the game in English or in French or in German, you're welcome to go play on our other servers. There will be no IP block, there will be no wall whatsoever. We don't like that, we just open it up and everybody can play where they want. We of course hope that you will play on the Russian server because we think we're doing a very good job at it. But it's up to you, it's your choice.
Just a translating or full localization, like bears and balalaika in game? What's about?
We call it localization because translation you can do on Google Translate. It's not very special. We do localization. We're also adding some specific items to the store, for example, for the Russian market. We're also making sure that the price structure in the market is aimed at the Russian players. So we call it localization. We're really we've hired, like, you can't see it on me. I'm Dutch. I speak English. I'm not Russian, but we have a good team of Russian people, both here and in our office, and they are really helping us to make sure that this is a localization of this game and not just a foreign company doing a translation and throwing it out there.
Storyline. It's continued second part of the game, or it's a new story?
Well, it continues it, but it is 100 years later, so a lot has changed in the world. Many people you knew from Neverwinter Nights 2, they are not around anymore, they died of course. But some races, they live very long, so they might still be around, and I don't want to spoil anything, but you might run into some familiar characters. And it's very much the same story, because we're working very closely with Wizards of the Coast to make sure that the story that is happening in Neverwinter now is the real story. So the same happens that's in their books, in the role-playing books, and the same that happens in the book series that R.A. Salvatore wrote. So it's really part of the whole universe. It's not a different story or a different dimension or something. No, it's really, this is Dungeons & Dragons Neverwinter. game has a very awesome opening cinematic. It's been running here on the computer, so maybe you've seen it. Only fully voice-overed in Russian, of course. And the game has many cutscenes. There's with the voice acting, the storytelling. You can skip it, of course, if you're somebody who just wants to hit things. Yeah, exactly. This you know that what we do with that. But you can do that. But the story is really—it's very engaging. Like right from the start, the tutorial starts to tell you the story, and then all the way till the end game, you go from zone to zone and you learn what's going on.
Final question: what about when can
Russian players play it?
yes?
Yes. So closed beta, we're hoping that we can still do this year. Like we said, we want to make sure that the localization, the quality of the language is good, is strong. And when we have that, we will go into more open beta. It's a little bit too early to give you an exact date, but it will be this winter. Neverwinter is coming this winter.
How to get a key for closed beta?
Very good question. You go to neverwintergame.ru, you sign up there, and that's your best chance. You will get email asking you about joining the beta later on. We will also do partnerships with websites and other with YouTube channels, things like that, to also give keys away.
I think you can give us some keys.
Exactly, so we'll work with awesome people like you to make sure that the Russian audience can play. We are looking for serious testers, like we want people to give us feedback, to try to break the game and then tell us how they broke it so we can fix it, to really make sure that we hit that high quality.
Thanks for the interview.
Thank you. Great to see you.